I picked out one underrated player from every team in the American League, so let's get right into it. Starting off with the New York Yankees, I gotta go with Jason Dominguez. I have no doubt about this one. I don't see why more people aren't acting like Jason Dominguez is going to be a solid addition pretty much to the New York Yankees in 2025 as he finally gets his chance as an everyday outfielder right from opening day. He's still just going to be 22 years old this coming season. He had another good year in the minors. He did struggle in his 18 games up in the majors late in the year, but that's an absolutely tiny sample size, and he wasn't that bad offensively. At least the defense could potentially be a concern out there, but he's just replacing Soto, who was also atrocious defensively, so it's kind of whatever. I would not be surprised in the slightest if Jason Dominguez is just casually a nice, very solid, borderline all-star 850 OPS hitter for the New York Yankees this coming season. For the Tampa Bay Rays, give me Shane Baz. He missed 2 years from Tommy John surgery from mid-22 to mid-24. He came back in the second half and was great this year. He was a pretty big prospect, so it's a shame his career was derailed 2 years like that. But when he did come back for the second half, a 3.06 ERA, a 1.06 whip. Baz is still just 25 years old. Him and Shane McClanahan can actually be a really good 1-2 punch in Tampa this year for the Rays. For the Boston Red Sox, I got to go with Jarren Duran, and it feels a little weird to put him on an underrated list because everybody does know about him, but I don't think everybody knows that he posted an 8.7 WAR this past season. I mean, if you break it down, he's probably the best player on the Boston Red Sox above Rafael Devers. Devers will give you a bit more homers. He's going to have a little higher of an OPS, and look, those are very critical stats, but Duran demolished Devers in WAR this season by like 5 points. Now, I'm under the understanding that WAR is technically a made-up stat, and you have to look at the reason behind this stuff, and the reason is speed and defense. Duran is way better than Devers in those two critical aspects of the game. He'll hit for a good average in the 280s. He'll bring you an OPS over 800 still. He hits about 20 home runs, so he's a really good bat, maybe not quite as good as Devers, but he brings these other things to the table. So Duran is probably the best player on that Boston Red Sox squad, and I think people need to start viewing it that way. For the Toronto Blue Jays, I got an interesting pick for it. How about Ernie Clement, the third baseman? Clement is just some very random name in the game that's usually viewed as a backup or a last resort starter, but over a full 2024 season in Toronto, he posted a 3.5 WAR. He was close enough to league average offensively with a 94 OPS plus. Pretty bad hitter, but better than people see him as, I'd say, and this is not where he gets his value from because he broke out as a third baseman, had a tremendous year on defense. Definitely not somebody that you should be ashamed of having as your third baseman like people may think. For the Baltimore Orioles, I had to go with Ryan O'Hearn. I feel like O'Hearn's name value has not gone that far up from his Royals days when he was just a pretty bad player. But in reality, this tall lefty first baseman is a very solid hitter in the game today, and I don't think people give him enough credit. In his 2 years in Baltimore, he's put up a 779 OPS and a 122 OPS plus. Gives you a nice solid 275 batting average as well. Ryan O'Hearn has got to be a top 10 first baseman in the game. American League Central, where we start with the Minnesota Twins, and this was the easiest pick out there. It's Matt Wallner for sure. The 27-year-old outfielder has done the same thing both of the past 2 seasons. He's played in about half the Twins games, and he's put up equally phenomenal stats both 2023 and 24. Over those 2 seasons, hear me out, an 886 OPS and a 143 WRC plus. He has absolutely no name value. You will never hear anybody talking about him among the good players in baseball. And he's not just good, he's been great the past 2 seasons. He's got to be the most underrated player in all of baseball. When somebody does it for like 75 games like this one time, it's like, okay, this could be a major fluke. We've seen that before. Think of the 2019 Yankees, Cameron Maybin, Mike Tauchman, Mike Ford, Gio Urshela. They all put up those type of numbers for 1 season. But when you've done it for 2, like Matt Wallner had, it's something to really look at. He's a serious threat at the plate. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure you hit the like button to let me know, and subscribe to the channel and tap the bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. For the Cleveland Guardians, although he's gained some name value, it's still Tanner Bibee. Over his 2 full seasons, he's put together a 3.25 ERA and a 1.14 whip. He's essentially an ace. We'll have to see if Bieber and Bibee go on to be a long-term great duo in Cleveland. Probably not. Bieber is coming back from Tommy John on a 1-year contract in 2025, but the reality of how it's gone so far is that Bibee has replaced Bieber as the Guardians' ace, and it can be that way for years to come. On to the Detroit Tigers, we got another right-handed starting pitcher. We're going with Reese Olson. He's young, he's just 25 years old, and him starting in the playoffs a couple of months ago had the vibes of like an unfortunate thing, but if you look at the stats, not at all the case. 2 strong seasons with the Tigers, particularly this past year. He posted a very impressive 3.53 ERA in 2024 and an even more impressive 3.17 FIP. It's a bright future for Reese Olson as he enters 2025 as the number 2 arm behind Tarek Skubal. Another underrated starting pitcher from the Kansas City Royals, we're going with Michael Wacha. He was a great young pitcher for the Cardinals at the start of his career, then he really fell off, but he has put things together in his low 30s. 3 straight really good above average seasons with ERAs in the low 3s. From 2022 to 24, a 3.30 ERA, a 1.16 whip. He's established himself as one of the most consistent and reliable starters in the game, a key reason why Kansas City went back to the postseason in 2024. And for the Chicago White Sox, it was hard to find somebody that's underrated, but I'm going to go with Luis Robert Jr. at this stage of his career. He had an awful 2023 season, we know that, just like most of the White Sox did, and as a result, he's lost a ton of name value, but I think if you really look at it, just one season, didn't even play the full season, not enough reason to give up on this guy yet. He's still young as well. From 2021 to 23, he accumulated a 10.7 WAR, so just one season is not enough for me to give up on this guy, a really good player. In that 2021 to 2023 prime, he put up a 287 average and an 842 OPS. He was rock solid, and I hope we get to see that again from him. Onto the AL West, we're starting out with the Houston Astros, and I'm going to give you an interesting one. How about Taylor Scott? Most of you probably never heard of him. He's a 32-year-old right-handed reliever, came out of nowhere in 2024. He posted a 2.23 ERA across 62 games this past season. I know ERA over one particular season is not the holy grail for relievers when you're evaluating them. However, that's a really impressive number over a really impressive amount of appearances. That it deserves recognition for sure. It's very notable. His peripherals weren't great, but I've seen it a number of times with pitchers, starters, and relievers where we're just like waiting for them to come down to what their peripherals suggest, but year after year they keep putting up a good ERA. Maybe Taylor Scott will be one of those guys. Maybe he's going to become a premier reliever in the game. For the Seattle Mariners, no doubt going with the left fielder Luke Raley. Definitely not a name that anybody talks about yet, but over the last 2 seasons between Tampa and Seattle, he's posted an 802 OPS and a 127 OPS plus. He'll give you 20 plus homers over a full season. He has solid speed as well for a pretty big body. Very good bat to have. For the Texas Rangers, how about David Robertson? The veteran reliever turns 40 in April, and he is still putting up very good seasons. Really impressive. I gotta acknowledge that in here. He posted an ERA of exactly 3 over a full season in Texas, and at age 39, it was the most innings he's ever pitched in a single season at 72. For the Oakland A's, it's Lawrence Butler, the young athletic right fielder who had a breakout year in 24. Over 125 games, he had 22 bombs and an 807 OPS despite playing in the very hitter-friendly Coliseum. He was also a very impressive 18 for 18 in stolen base attempts. Just 24 years old, he's definitely one of the bright spots for the Sacramento Athletics. And to wrap it up for the Los Angeles Angels, it's the shortstop Zach Neto. He had a phenomenal first full season in the bigs. Baseball Reference gave him a 5 WAR. He had 23 home runs, a 761 OPS, and 30 stolen bases in 2024. He turns 24 only this month. Zach Neto, a young player, he can do it all. Definitely one of the bright spots on a rebuilding Angels squad. I appreciate you a ton. If you made it to this point in the video, go follow my Instagram, Connor Takeline, for some more baseball content on there that you will not be seeing on here. But like I said, make sure you subscribe with the bell so you don't miss the upcoming content, and we'll see you next time.